person surrounded by death in so many ways, passionately committed to embracing life. They could have surrendered 1,000 times over and then some, but instead they chose to rage. To rage against the dying of the light. To rage against the darkness. Rage to protect the people they love. All to find small amounts of joy and fun, even though they know the light is still dying. To live a most passionate life, knowing it will still lead all to the same inevitable end. This is the burden of a mech warrior. To embrace the inevitable, rage and find a small amount of joy in the dying light. But let's face it, MechWarrior Online can be a very challenging game. With all the noise of mech lab, meta suggestions and weapon choices, the constant influx of mechs and their designs, the old tutorials and guides steering you in the wrong direction, not to mention the back and forth arguing on all the Discord servers. It can be overwhelming. It's easy to forget after all that you still have to play the damn game. Mech Academy is here to help. We are going to cover a broad outline you can apply for use in any MechWarrior Online match. This wasn't created or designed with the intention of teaching the tippy-top techniques or cover any type of gameplay for that matter. This was designed for a player with minimal grasp of the game mechanics and maps. But whether you're a new or old player, stick around and I may end up teaching you a thing or two. This is a method I have personally been teaching new players for over 6 years, and it's our pleasure at Mech Academy to finally present to you the Opposing Force Quick Play Guide. I recommend all new players finish the in-game tutorial academy before jumping into any quick play match to get down the basics of mech combat. Teaming this surprisingly useful in-game tutorial with this guide should give you everything you need to start to play any mech, weight class or style in this game. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive in head first.
We can get your matches to stop looking like this. And get them to start looking like this.
For our first lesson at the Mech Academy, we are in the Trial 50-ton clan Hunchback equipped with some pew pew. This mech has high mounts, jump jets and plenty of firepower, the complete trifecta. It is also available to everyone, so feel free to download the game and follow along step by step even if you haven't played the game in a decade. Starting from the very beginning to keep things nice and simple, as we are loading in and before the game starts, you can look at the mechs your team is running when in the ready screen to gain intel. This can be anything like recognizing tags, seeing how heavy your team's drop deck is, things like that. Checking connections of teammates and paying attention to any disconnects is also pretty advisable here. Now I'll admit, it's a tall order to ask new players to remember every chassis code or username, but this is an important step in quick play when you have no idea what team composition you can have. Remember everybody, information really is ammunition.
Information is ammunition.
I'm sorry, I had to. I promise it's the last time on the channel I lean into that cliche. It was just way too perfect. Moving on. Taking note of high skill players on the enemy team is always a good idea at this point and should become a habit. Knowing an enemy pilot's playstyle or preferred weapon system can be the edge you need to leverage the odds of a fight back in your favor. MechWarrior Online pilots are a lot like the third Succession War MechWarriors. They know their enemies intimately due to the small nature of the community. Don't get things twisted here, guys. Some players out there can be straight up Elden Ring boss difficulty and they ain't no NPCs. Not every pilot is measured the same. Trust me on this one. Keep your head on a swivel and respect a hard fight when you see one.
Is this some kind of joke?
You dare to refuse my bajol?
Refuse your what?
The match officially starts the moment you power up. You can look at the map by pressing the B key after you power up and gain additional information by tapping the I key. Most users don't use this map very often, but as a new player it's going to be your best friend. If you're in a game mode with a dropship, you can do this while powering up inside, saving precious early game seconds. Taking a few moments after you spawn to orientate yourself with the rest of the team is a good idea here. There is no point jumping the gun if you don't know where you're going. Moving along, you should shoot your weapons early to check your latency and connections to the lobby. This can also be a good reminder of what your alpha heat is, since every map affects total available cooling. It's also nice to know where your hardpoint locations are. Keeping note of all these things can save you some big oopsie moments later on. Within the first give or take 60 seconds of a match, you should focus on what your team is doing and where they're going. Look for landmarks you can use to quickly and easily communicate a position. This is a team game, and every individual contributes to the overall strategy with their positioning, whether they intend to or not. Most maps are small and the enemy only has 3 or 4 options when it comes to positioning, no matter the game mode. Your focus as a lone wolf should always be how I can support the group and bring my firepower into the fight as fast as possible, not leading the charge into the fray with all the gear and no idea. Make note of all the mechs that are around you and what builds are available to assist you in fights. Try not to pace your team too much even if you're a light mech. Keeping a blue dot within a grid is a really good idea. For future reference, each grid is 500 meters from end to end, so you can use this on the map for quick ranging purposes. Look for a route which you can avoid taking enemy fire early on. Armor you lose in the opening is armor you can't use for trades later. The opening of a game is generally where teams set up, not where they go for decisive blows. Using armor now just limits the amount of risks you can take later. Intel and communication are extremely important in open quick play. If you see a friendly mech that gets in position to potentially see enemy targets, you can simply ask the person if they've seen anything. Push to talk is the most powerful tool at any MechWarrior's disposal. Most, if not all, pilots will respond if able. Press the Q key to bring up a detailed hub overlay of both enemies and friendlies. You can use this to check their name or just address them as whatever mech they're in. Shifting focus to what the reds are doing, keep in mind where enemies aren't can sometimes be an indicator of where they are. If there's more than one target and you want to convey it quickly, you can press R repeatedly to cycle targets and gain the attention of your team. Based on the intel you've gathered and the strengths of your mech, you should update your selected route from earlier in the match. Look for a position you want to reach and see if you can get there while avoiding as much damage as possible. Make sure the position you choose has enough access to cover for your mech against the enemy positions. You don't want to be out in the open in full view of the enemy at any point. This part of the match is when you will know if your team is committing to a full rotation, or what is known as a bounce back is about to occur. You should be ready for both scenarios, as both can lead to an easy win condition. Before any actual engagement occurs, you can start ranging out how far your sightlines are using your rangefinder. You can use this to actually accurately shoot down UAVs. Pay attention at how many meters out the avenues of approach are. Ideally, you want your sightlines to be near your effective range of your weapons to maximize damage while minimizing the chance of return fire. Long range mechs at long ranges, short range mechs at short ranges. It seems simple enough. Well, guess what? It isn't. Shooting mechs outside of effective ranges is the biggest culprit of low damage numbers and keeping mech dads inside of the T5 prison. Just because you see a red crosshair doesn't mean you have actually damaged the enemy mech. It's up to you to know whether you're gutting a mech from the inside out or just scratching their paint. Managing ranges is a key component of mech combat. Once the fight begins, things can proceed very quickly. A match in MechWarrior Online can be less than 4 minutes from start to finish these days. It's not like back in beta, guys. You need to be aware of the rotations of both teams at all times. This part coming up is very important, so listen up. Make sure you stay within the support of your own team while prioritizing a good position to fire on the enemy. Always try to avoid bad damage. This basically means you don't want to give the enemy free damage or a favorable trade. If they dealt damage to you and you didn't deal more damage back, that can be considered a trade favorable to the enemy and quite honestly a mistake on your behalf. The only time an enemy should take your armor is when you let them. In terms of target preference, you should be looking for targets you can isolate, or at least easy kills. Easy targets can be considered enemies that are already weak in the CT or side torsos from previous engagements. Legs are always targets of opportunity, guys, and trying to leg a mech behind cover is usually wasted effort. There is a time and place for taking legs, and quick play is not a good place to try since it's really not hard to guard the back leg when you know what you're doing. Weakened targets will be cautious with their movements and hard to finish off. It's easy to chase a squirrel into a bear's den, so be careful. Out of position mechs are not always free kills. You should focus fire on these kinds of targets to help coordinate the team, but chasing them is exactly what they want. If none of the mentioned targets are available, you should be finding a team member to work with and prioritize the largest mech in your line of sight. If the enemy team loses enough damage per second, they cannot win the fight. It's really that simple. Early on in your pilot career, try not to take any 1v1 trades until you have the confidence in what you're doing. If you are inexperienced, then you should try to play off mechs around you. Follow up friendly shots or position yourself to deny a push on them. Guard anything that is putting rounds down range, and you should slowly build up enough confidence to break out of the blob and be your own pilot. At this point, every match is going to present very different opportunities. While quick play has a predictable flow, every game is unique. Keeping an open mind and staying dynamic is the key to consistency. Aggression should go up as team numbers gain an advantage. If you stand still, keep peeking, and not go for the decisive blow, the enemy team may get one or more of your mechs out of position and swing the tide of the game. Always assume you are the best player on your team unless you know for a fact otherwise, and lead by example. If you see you're at a disadvantage, you should start an active defense, use comms, request support, and organize what is left of your team. Don't be afraid to talk to other mech warriors. The moment we hit the launch button, we are all in this together, whether we like it or not.
We can't forget their enemies. As Kerensky says,
Kerensky's dream was to keep the inner sphere united, Zero. Wouldn't he want us to work together?
An active defense means you should avoid even trades. Try to get favorable matchups and tonnages, and get as much free damage in as possible. Minimize your exposure and save armor for when it counts. Working together is the only way out of a bad situation. This is honestly when rotating away from an enemy to re-engage at a position more in your favor becomes one of the agreeable win conditions, but be careful. Rotation is fickle, and it can be just as hard to convince friendlies to start it as much as it is to stop it. Remember, nothing is the wrong decision if it wins the game, even if it's NASCAR. Once either side is down 6 players, you can consider yourself in the late game. At this stage of the match, your focus should shift more to objectives, even if the objective is just to kill all the enemies. If you're in a game mode with capture points, make sure you control enough of them to win to the best of your ability. If you're slow, just protect something. If you're fast, go to the furthest objective or flank to ensure coverage. Guarding an objective late game can be just as important as taking one early on. Position yourself accordingly. 12v12 games tend to end quicker than objectives can be captured, but that is not always the case. Going for an objective win can sometimes be your only way out of a bad situation. No one expects you to actually win a 6v1. In the late game, don't tunnel vision on one enemy. Make sure to look around and stay aware of your surroundings and enemy lines. There aren't as many mechs around to watch your back at this point, and most people will be focused on their own fights. Be aware that every time a friendly dies, that frees up another enemy mech to shoot at you, which can quickly lead to a change in your situation. Evaluate if you're winning or losing and follow that momentum. Look for an opportunity to swing it in your team's favor. If you oppose the flow of the game, you'll get caught out of position. You cannot decide if your team NASCARs, pushes, or stands still. Try to do what's best for the team for the situation they end up getting themselves in. More often than not, the later the game gets, the more decisive it becomes, and drops inside MechWarrior Online are known to snowball and end pretty quickly. If you are unlucky enough to be on the losing side of a game, you should prioritize getting in as much damage as possible. If this means running away and kiting enemies, then do it. I'm here to tell you it's okay to do this, but running to a location or objective that is easy to defend can actually swing the match back into your favor even when outnumbered. I personally never give up, but I'm not here to tell you how to play. I'm just here to give you advice. Keeping a cool head and coming up with a plan of defense is your only actual objective at this point. It's all gravy from here on out, guys. Just do your best. No matter your choice in this losing situation, just make sure you're getting damage down and not locking 11 other pilots' mechs away for no reason. Don't get me wrong. Everyone is entitled to play out their games. Even if you're the last one alive, just make it count and do me proud.
Look out, Hawk. Zero the hero's talking tough again.
Ooh, if you want to get blown to bits, Hero, you gotta wait your turn like the rest of us.
Oh, leave him alone, guys. Or he'll sick his mummy and daddy on you.
To finish, I think we should summarize. During the opening of the game, we want to recognize what the team is doing. Look for landmarks to play off. Save as much armor as possible. Acquire intel. Select our route and initial cover, and get all our ranging done. Once the engagement and middle game starts, we're going to try to be aware of the rotation direction, start to trade armor for kills, and try to isolate the smallest element of the enemies. Aggression goes up with number advantage, and recognizing that is important. If you're at a disadvantage, start an active defense. Once we're in late game, don't tunnel vision. Assess all the objectives. Follow the momentum of the game, and ensure maximum damage even on a loss. I hope you got at least a little out of this guide. I know it's broad and covering some very basic concepts, but it's here to help the new players joining us to catch up on years of map knowledge and game sense. Stay tuned as we build on this lesson and go into some more in-depth tactics and advanced gameplay in future installments. If you enjoyed this, why don't you check out my retrospective on the MechWarrior Super Nintendo game and see where the entire formula got its start. I want to thank everybody for the enormous amount of support we have received so far, and I promise you we are only just getting started. And if you want to support the channel, all you have to do is subscribe and comment. That's all I could ask from you. Being a small startup channel, it's the most you can do to help us. If you want to join me and the rest of the Mech Academy community, you can find us at Discord. We do monthly giveaways, weekly MechWarrior events, as well as just hang out and have a good time with the good old-fashioned stompy. If you like anything to do with MechWarrior, competitive MechWarrior, mech speedrunning, or you just want to argue about the size an SRM would be in real life, it's a great place to meet other pilots and get involved with the mech community. Until next time, MechWarriors, keep it tight and remember, don't bother carrying cash. Barter with parts. We should all stay on that Mad Max grind set.